Recap Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao, Chapter 1237. Chapter per. The clash came to an abrupt stillness after a long exchange of blows, fists cutting through air, power colliding yet never fully unleashed. Ling Han and Ma Zhang both withdrew at the same time, as if guided by an unspoken understanding. Neither had fought with true killing intent. Neither had dared to reveal their full strength. Because in battles between cultivators, the most dangerous thing was never what was shown, but what was hidden. Each man stood wary, eyes sharp, minds calculating. Who knew what trump cards the other held in reserve? At last, Mahjong snorted coldly, turning his back with a flick of his sleeve. "Brat, we will meet again." With that, he gathered his two soldiers and strode away without hesitation. Ling Han's voice followed him like a lingering blade. "Of course we will meet again. You still owe me a courtyard." Mahjong nearly tripped mid-step. His face darkened, veins bulging faintly at his temples. This damned brat still clinging to that matter? Was it entirely his fault? Yet in the end, he said nothing more. His figure disappeared into the distance. Ling Han remained where he stood, watching silently, but he did not pursue. Because he knew. This encounter had already revealed enough. He had failed to locate the heavenly phoenix divine maiden. And continuing the fight would serve no purpose. Worse still, it might expose more than he intended. But now he had gained something far more valuable: identity. Ma Jiang was a subordinate of Great General Xie, and that name, Great General Xie Qian, one of the four great generals of the Great Crimson Sun Imperial Empire, a being rumored to stand within the Eternal River tier, an existence so profound that even his exact cultivation remained shrouded in mystery. For such figures, unless they to reveal themselves, who could truly measure their depth? Ling Han's eyes narrowed slightly. If such a person set their sights on something, you could run, but you could never hide. He turned slowly, thoughts already shifting. Perhaps Kang Shuyuan and Yunyang Wang might know something. Or perhaps the heavenly phoenix divine maiden had returned to the Hanlin Pavilion, and he had simply missed her. 2 days later, he returned to Big Trade City. The moment he stepped inside, Kang Shuyuan rushed toward him, his face pale, his breath unsteady. "Master! Master!" His voice trembled. Ling Han's heart tightened instantly. What happened? A letter from Mistress. The words struck like thunder. Ling Han snatched the letter without hesitation, his gaze sweeping across its contents in a single breath. And as he read, his expression darkened. The truth unfolded, simple, yet infuriating. The Cloud Phoenix sect sought to climb higher. They wished to strengthen their standing, to secure favor with Great General Shi. But how could a mere Sun Moon tier sect catch the eye of an Eternal River tier overlord? Impossible. So they chose another path, a detour. They approached Xie Donglei, the seventh grandson of Great General Shai, a rising star, a genius among the younger generation, only 100,000 years into cultivation, yet already at the consummate level of the Sun Moon tier. And more importantly, a figure beginning to hold influence within the Shi clan. If he advanced further, if he stepped into the heavenly body tier, his future would be unquestionable. Thus, the Cloud Phoenix sect devised their scheme, a marriage alliance. They invited Xie Donglei, and they deceived the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, luring her into attending. And the moment Xie Donglei saw her, he was captivated. Completely. Days after returning to the imperial capital, he sent word. He wished to take her as a concubine, not a wife, because someone like him, his main wife, would never be chosen by himself. It would be a political bond, a union forged for power between equals, between forces of similar weight. The Cloud Phoenix sect was far from worthy of that. But a concubine? That was another matter. It was still a status. To the Cloud Phoenix sect, it was an opportunity, a chance to rise. And so they agreed without hesitation, but the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, how could she accept? She had already declared herself the Ling family's widow. That was not merely a title. It was her will, her resolve, her heart. Yet against the Shi clan, she was powerless. Even if she could stand against her own sect, before such a colossal force, she was nothing more than a fragile flame. Thus, she chose escape. She chose the only place where the Shai clan's reach could not extend, the two-realm battlefield, a land where chaos ruled, where life and death were decided in an instant, where even powerful clans hesitated to interfere. By the time this letter arrived, she was already gone. Ling Han's hands trembled slightly. Then his fury erupted, cold, terrifying. They dared to force his woman into remarriage. This was not merely insult. This was humiliation. This was an attempt to place a crown of shame upon his head. The Cloud Phoenix sect, in their greed, they had trampled dignity. They had sold her future for their own gain. And Shi Donglei, that arrogant wretch, he dared covet what belonged to Ling Han. A killing intent flickered in Ling Han's eyes. If he did not cripple that man 10 times over, it would not be enough. Not enough to extinguish the rage burning within him. Without hesitation, he spoke. I'm going to the two-realm battlefield, immediately. His decision was absolute. That place was a slaughterhouse. Every day, countless lives were extinguished. Blood soaked the earth. Even at the consummate level of the Sun-Moon tier, the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden would be far from safe. If anything happened to her, even the slightest harm, Ling Han would return and tear the Shi clan apart. As for the Cloud Phoenix sect, their fate was already sealed. Destruction. Master, we'll go too, Kang Xuan and Yun Yongwang said in unison. Ling Han shook his head. You two? You're alchemists, not warriors. Stay here. His tone turned sharp. Focus on your pills. If I return and you haven't reached level 6, prepare yourselves. Ah! Their faces fell instantly. From level 5 to level 6, that leap required millennia of effort, and yet Ling Han had already turned away, no longer caring. The conflict between the Han Lin Pavilion and Treasure Forest Pavilion had ended. There was nothing left for him here, but he was a man of his word. Before leaving, he would fulfill one final promise, teach the Berserk Blood Spirit Pill. Then he would depart. Yun Yongwang and Kang Shuyuan nodded solemnly. They would guard the Han Lin Pavilion. They would gather level 5 godly metals, and they would train relentlessly. Ling Han set out alone. He did not inform his sworn brothers. He did not bring Ding Ping. He left behind even his 4 followers. The battlefield he was heading to was too dangerous. Only 2 remained with him, the Asura Demon Emperor and the old ginseng hidden within the Black Tower. To others, the Black Tower was barren, lacking spiritual qi, unsuitable for cultivation. But for the old ginseng, it was a paradise, a place where the growth of life was accelerated, a place where he could root himself beneath the reincarnation tree and comprehend Dao. His cultivation advanced rapidly. He stood on the brink of the Sun-Moon tier, though expecting him to cultivate seriously, impossible. More often than not, he slipped out into Big Trade City, teasing women, flirting shamelessly, spreading chaos with his so-called demonic claws. Ling Han ignored it all. Soon, he arrived at the Treasure Forest Pavilion. The moment he stepped inside, he was greeted with deep respect. Elder Ling. Every staff member bowed, their voices filled with reverence. Clearly, Lin Yuqi had made arrangements, and then a familiar fragrance drifted through the air. Lin Yuqi appeared, graceful, confident, her presence pressing forward as she stepped directly in front of Ling Han, so close that her proud figure nearly brushed against him. Missed me? She asked with a playful smile. Ling Han shifted away instantly. I'm here to find Han Xinyan. I'll teach her the Berserk Blood Spirit Pill. Lin Yuqi froze for a heartbeat. Then irritation flickered in her eyes. In his eyes, she couldn't even compare to that inexperienced little girl. She inhaled deeply. Calm down. Calm down. With a wave of her hand, she summoned a maidservant. Take him. As Ling Han followed the servant deeper inside, Lin Yuqi remained behind, brows furrowed, mind racing. How do you melt a block of ice? This man was far too difficult. Meanwhile, Ling Han entered the inner courtyard. This place was quiet, secluded, clearly private. Only beautiful maidservants moved about softly, like shadows drifting through a hidden world, and beyond, the next step of his journey awaited, toward the battlefield, toward blood, toward fate, and toward the woman he would protect at any cost. The story begins not with battle, but with whispers. A young maid led Ling Han through the quiet corridors, her voice lively, almost unable to contain the secrets she carried. She spoke endlessly of Lin Yuqi, of Han Xinyan, of their bond. Miss Han, she said, lowering her voice with excitement, is Madame's distant relative. Step by step, her words painted a picture. The 2 women were close, very close. Otherwise, why would someone like Han Xinyan travel all the way to such a small, unremarkable city? By the time they reached a secluded courtyard, the maid stopped. She gave a respectful bow, yet her eyes still sparkled with gossip. Miss Han should be meditating inside, she said. I dare not disturb her. Young master, it would be better if you knock yourself. And with that, she turned and left. Ling Han stood there for a moment, then sighed, irresponsible. He stepped forward and knocked. Knock, knock, knock. Silence answered him at first. Then, soft footsteps. The door creaked open, and what greeted him was not something any cultivator would expect. Han Xinyan stood there, barely clothed, almost naked. For a heartbeat, even Ling Han froze. Then, ah! A sharp, piercing scream shattered the stillness. Bang! The doors slammed shut so violently that Ling Han had to lean back to avoid being struck. He rubbed his nose slowly. That had been close. Only a few breaths passed. Then the doors burst open once more. This time, Han Xinyan stormed out like a furious storm given form. Her clothes were hastily worn, her expression blazing with humiliation and rage. In her hand, a sword gleamed coldly. Without hesitation, she struck. "How dare you, you shameless—" The blade slashed forward, but Ling Han merely stepped aside, calm as flowing water. Her sword might have been swift, but her martial strength was lacking. He released a faint trace of heaven's might, just a ripple barely visible, and instantly her body faltered. Her strength collapsed like a broken tide. The sword slowed. Her attack lost all force. "Don't misunderstand," Ling Han said lightly, a faint smile on his lips. "I came only to teach you the method of concocting the berserk blood spirit pill." Han Xinyan paused. Her sword still moved. She slashed a few more times, as if venting the last of her anger. Only then did she withdraw it. She cursed again, unwilling to let go of her fury so easily. Ling Han spread his hands helplessly. "I didn't do anything," he said. "I simply knocked on the door. You were the one who came out like that." Her face flushed instantly, a rare crack in her composure, because deep down, she knew it was true. It was true. She had a peculiar habit. Whenever she studied pill formulas, she removed all her clothing. Only then, she believed, could inspiration flow freely, and within Lin Yuqi's private courtyard, where no men ever entered, she had never feared exposure. Yet today, a man had appeared and seen everything. Humiliation burned within her chest like fire. She glared at Ling Han, her eyes sharp. "This matter," she said coldly, "must never be spoken of again." She was not unreasonable. She understood where the fault lay, but understanding did not erase the anger, nor the embarrassment. Ling Han, however, only sighed inwardly. A woman with small patience. He glanced at her chest briefly. Flat. Truly flat. Even earlier, when she had stood before him unclothed, there had been little to see. If she wished, she could pass as a man without effort. "All right," he said calmly. He did not wish to argue, nor did he wish to entangle himself in unnecessary trouble, especially not the kind where a woman might claim he had seen her body and must now take responsibility. Without further delay, he flicked his wrist. A book flew through the air. "This," he said, "is the pill recipe for the Berserk Blood Spirit pill. Study it yourself first. I have matters to attend to and must leave Big Trade City for a time. If there's anything you don't understand, note it down. I'll answer when I return." Han Xinyan caught the book, her brows immediately furrowed. Both of them were level 8 alchemists, yet his tone was that of a teacher addressing a student. Did he think she was his junior? Annoyance surged within her, but her fingers tightened slightly around the book. Because this was no ordinary recipe. It was the Berserk Blood Spirit pill. Even if her pride burned, she could not reject it. Reluctantly, she stored the recipe away. At this moment, she did not dare to act stubborn. Ling Han waved casually, then turned and left. His destination, the two-realm battlefield. The winds of the world shifted as he journeyed. He moved toward the frontier between two great empires. The Great Crimson Sun Imperial Empire and the Blue Cloud Imperial Empire. Between them lay a place unlike any other. The two-realm battlefield, a land where the boundaries between worlds thinned, where the netherworld could invade the immortal realm, and where the immortal realm could strike back into the netherworld, a place of endless war. The cloud-piercing shuttle was no longer suitable for such travel, but Ling Han needed no such tool. He had mastered the star-plucking step, and combined with the lightning techniques he had gleaned from heavenly tribulations, his speed had reached a terrifying level. In just 20 days, he arrived. But before this journey, he had made preparations. He had refined a berserk blood spirit pill, then consumed it, and for 3 days he endured. The medicinal power surged within him like a raging sea, violent, uncontrolled berserk. The red sun within his body expanded, doubling in size. His cultivation advanced from early stage to middle stage of the low extreme. But the cost was immense. Even his body, refined to the strength of level 6 godly metal, could not remain unscathed. His flesh tore, his skin split, even his godly bones cracked under the strain. Such was the nature of the pill. Berserk, its power was too violent. For ordinary Sun Moon tier cultivators, it was a gamble with death. Only those at the consummate level could endure it alone. Others required the protection of stronger elites. Otherwise, they would explode, die. From the very medicine meant to strengthen them, a tragic end. After absorbing the pill's effects, Ling Han observed his body closely. And as the Alchemy Emperor, he noticed something others might miss: alchemic poison. Residual, hidden, Ling Han understood instantly. If he consumed another Berserk Blood Spirit pill now, it would not elevate his cultivation. It would kill him, because the explosion of such power was equivalent to a full-force strike from a heavenly body tier. What Sun Moon tier cultivator could withstand that? None. Even Ling Han had no immediate solution. He studied the rate at which the poison dissipated, calculated, measured. 3 years. That was the time required for the poison to fully disperse. 3 years before he could safely consume another pill. And yet, even so, the implications were terrifying. Each pill raised cultivation by a sub-minor level. In at most 50 years, he could reach the peak of the Sun Moon tier. 50 years. Compared to a lifespan of 4 million years at that level, it was nothing, a blink, an instant. Such speed was monstrous, though even that could not compare to Who Knew. Because the celestial realm was a different existence entirely there, Genesis tier cultivators emerged, just as shattering void tiers did in the immortal realm. Not easy, but not impossible. At the edge of the battlefield, a city stood, Wolf Fang City, a stronghold, a sanctuary, a final line of defense. It was here that soldiers rested, recovered, prepared. Because if this city fell, the armies of the Netherworld would march forward unopposed, and the entire Cloud Apex planet would be plunged into ruin. Only 2 great empires ruled this planet, thus their armies formed the backbone of resistance. But they were not alone. All cultivators, and even demonic beasts who had reached the immortal level, were bound by duty. They must come. They must fight. This was not a choice. It was an obligation. Within this battlefield, legendary forces had risen. The Purple Moon Army, led by the Purple Moon Divine Maiden, the Wind Riders Army under the Wind Rider Divine King, the Holy Army, Command Travel Monk King, each forged in war, each feared and respected. When a cultivator arrived here, 2 paths lay before them. The first, join an official army, fight as a soldier, earn merit, retire with honor. The second, walk alone, hunt the creatures of the Netherworld independently, earn merit the same way, because here, merit points were everything. They were currency, they were status, they were survival. Through merit, one could exchange for pills like god tools, cultivation techniques, anything. Because though the cause was righteous, no one could be forced to die for it without reward. And so, merit points existed as both incentive and judgment. Once enough merit was accumulated, one could leave, step away from war, return to peace. But if one refused to come at all, if the time of duty passed and they were discovered, there was only one fate: execution, no exceptions. Because in this war between 2 realms, there was no room for those who would not fight.